Sorry it's been a bit of a while, but I've been busy doing other things. And this one I'm just going to cover something I covered in last time, but I want to go in a little bit more depth. I spoke about foreground, background and midground. So background, midground, foreground. You could argue that that was a separate, call it a backdrop I suppose if there's one further away. But there's a difference between a feature and what I would call colour. When I mean colour, I don't mean colour, I just mean little details that pick it out and make it more interesting. So here we've got a flower, and then we've got a feature, and we've got a backdrop, which is the cave. So in this instance, we can line it up. So, what we've got here, if I can just adjust it slightly, because there's several things we could use as foreground image. So I think that rock's a bit too big, a bit too bold to be. That'll become a feature. I don't want a feature. I want just colour. That's a little bit to one side. That's interesting, but I think that one I had before, which is there, takes your eye into the picture. We've got a natural line. We can even take the grass, give it a bit more texture in the foreground if we want. Just a little bit if we wanted to do that. I'm not sure if I do want to do that. We'll just take a look. That could work, but we'll just keep it simple. I just want them to adjust this camera so I can move it more minutely by pressing up and down on the D-pad. So there we've got an image. We could have this little bit of graph, just a little bit of graph in the, just as a little bit of extra colour there. So we've got a sense of 3D. We've got the grass, we've got the flower, we've got the feature, and we've got the backdrop, as well as we've got this. So we've got a nice sense of depth there. So taking what I've said before, same thing, fog density, first thing I do, because I just want to bring a bit of depth into this picture. Like I said, I wish they hadn't changed this, because what it's done, that's nice though, that is nice. It goes up by bigger degrees now. When you move it, it goes up by bigger degrees. I mean, we can take that really low, really high, and focus entirely on this and that. But that's a little bit too harsh. The contrast between this light and that dark is a little bit too unnatural, so we need to take that down a bit more. We need to take a little of this colour and start bringing it into the image on both sides. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at just bringing this colour into that so that it blends in nicely. So we've got that. Maybe one more. So one more. Right, so we've got the colour of the grass that blends into the green and the yellow going up here, and it comes across the top, so it ties that in nicely, and we've also got the depth through that cave. We'll get this into the centre here, get a nice frame on it. So that tree up there I don't like. That tree is annoying me. So what I would do, as I always do, because I like to make sure, place a marker down so I know where I am, and go up here. This is the one thing, just I'm a perfectionist. You don't have to do this, but that annoys me. So I would go up here, and I would just basically remove the tree. I would just basically remove that tree because it's annoying me. Just change it a bit. Not much, just enough. I'll remove these just in case they are in there. I don't want to go back down there and find they are, just to make sure. Now we can return to where we came from, obviously, because I put a marker down. Which is there. And now we've got to find that. There it is. So, right, so I haven't got that horrible thing in my way now. So let's go back, get it framed as we thought. Notice it kept the same setting, so I'm fine. So we've got that framed. That would overpower it a little bit, because this is big. It's big and bulky. That would introduce these rocks into it. So it would take your eye off my main two features, which is this plant, that highlight. So I want those out of the picture. Right, so now we'll get it framed. We've got it framed. First thing we want to do is obviously cycle through the time of day. So it's 11:40, remember 11:40, and let's have a look at different times of day. I've noticed something that's unfortunately been introduced into this patch, and I hope it's changed, that all planets at night time become blue. The predominant colour is blue on every single planet. So for a nighttime shot, the mood has been a little bit ruined by that. I can no longer get the diversity I used to get with colour with the nighttime shots. You try it yourself. You land on any planet and just stick it on nighttime and see what colour it turns out to be, and it will be blue. That is nice. That is nice. It's quite vibrant, but it's a bit contrasty. I quite like that. Right, so I'll take it to 9 o'clock. We'll leave it at 9 o'clock for the minute. Now we'll try cloud cover down to 0. It doesn't make a difference because there's no clouds, but I'll do it out of habit. We'll try different filters. Vintage makes it that little bit, brings it together a little bit better actually. It's a little bit in your face, that green. So that could be the filter. That's way too contrasty. Again, that's nice. That is really nice. That might work well with depth of field. That is really nice though. Amber, too much. Again, not good enough. There's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for that, and I'm sure by moving the days of night, I do like the slightly shell-shaded effect on these rocks. It picks that out as the main feature more predominantly, and it is quite good. That is a waste of time. Green, my old favourite isolation. I knew it would work well on this, and it does work well on this, but I don't want to always use isolation. So even though I might take that picture in isolation, I won't do that in isolation. Fall is nice. Fall is great for animals, by the way. If you want to get a good picture of an animal, use fall. Fall really does bring it together nicely. Filmic, again too contrasty. Retro, pointless. I can imagine that. So we'll go with a default filter, but I'm still not happy with that time of the day. The thing about cycling through the times of the day is you can't get the sun exactly where you want it to go. It defaults to a certain pathway. The only way you can do that is to physically place it where you want it yourself. Then you can get it. Like I can get it right. I can get it right behind that mountain. If I want, I can get down. I mean that moon, I can get that moon or whatever it is, planet. That's a little bit too much. It oversaturates everything. High. Higher. No. They've definitely changed the lighting slightly. You do not get as much variety as you used to. It's a little bit unfortunate. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. Now, like that. I like that. Now, what do I like better? There or there? I quite like that. Now, so we've got a colour, which is the flower, the grass, the stone, this flower here. We've got our feature, which are these rocks, which are interesting rocks. It's a pity those rocks are not used in caves instead of those horrible ones, because they look quite nice and they're varied in size and shape. And we've got a backdrop, which are nice. Just want to try to see what depth of field does. Just want to see if I can blur that line just there. Just a little bit. Not much. Don't want to affect it too much. Yeah, you see, it's affecting that. It's affecting that. That's why I don't like using it. Yeah, can't use it. Can't use it. Before we do that, I'm going to take the field of view right down to 50. Now I'm going to bring the camera back out again. No. Unfortunately, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to get back to 75. You can dig holes. And I do that as well. So, we've got a colour. On the face of it, it's not a brilliant picture. I'm just trying to show you what I mean about highlights. Highlights gives colour, texture, predominant feature, and a sense of continuation, a sense of these all fitting together, which is that continuation of this and round down there, and the sense of depth which is created by the fogging. I've got to try a little bit longer. Now I could be happy with that. In fact, what I'll do is I'll take a picture of that before I start tampering, because I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that picture. So now we'll just intensify this fog and take it to I think that's a little bit too harsh. We'll take it back to what it was. About there. About 200. And we'll try a different filter. I'm going to see what happens. What I can do with the stock filter. Now this is where time of day makes a difference with stock filter. You do get these striations with stock filters, which is good and bad. It creates a surreal effect. Makes it more artsy, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. So let's try different times of day with this. That ain't bad. It's not bad at all. That is quite nice. That is quite nice, but I'm sticking to the original. So let's try a different filter. Let's try isolation, but darker. At the moment, isolation isn't isolating enough. But sometimes when you change the time of day, you can reduce the reduce the greens. You can reduce the effect as. This is predominantly green, and it nearly aha la. Now, if you're going to use isolation, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a splash of colour. You've even got a slight bit of green on here, a slight bit of green on there. So that ain't bad at all. Well, it's getting a bit too green. Let's take it even further. You sometimes, if you're lucky, get a bit of blue as well. And there's the blue at night time. Like I said though, that's now the default colour for night time, which is a tad disappointing. But I think, even though I'm not taking pictures here, you can see the different moods, the different effects it can have. Hopefully it's night time, so I can show you what I mean by highlighting with the torch as well. If I can't, I'll do a separate video with that one. But anyway, I can't. But you get the idea. I'll post a picture up. I've gone through that process. Remember, you're looking at highlights, which are things like this. Make sure the highlights are not too big though, because if you're going to have a point of interest, which is those, all that, if it's too big, it'll just detract from the point of interest. I mean, this is a point of interest as well, I suppose, if you want it to be. I mean, you could get a nice picture of him growling, you know, when he lifts his head up. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, because you have to do this all the time. No, he's not very happy chappy, is he? You know, you want a nice pose from him. I sometimes prod and poke at creatures until I get them in the right place. Get the right pose from them. You know, you just have to keep at it. Don't just take a pic. Don't just take a picture because you want to take a picture. If it's not happy with the picture, move on, take another picture. I'm just going to have a look, see if they've got a potential of a nice situation where I can frame something with a cave. Don't think it's likely, because this was quite a low cave. Don't really think there's much to frame. Not much to frame, unfortunately. No, there's not much to frame. Nothing to frame. Put this back to restore defaults. Just have a quick look up there. But if not, it doesn't matter. I can do another video and show you what I mean by framing. And what you're looking for when you're framing. Bear in mind that I am no expert. The only thing I go on is the fact that I produce some good pictures, and I've had a lot of positive feedback from the pictures I post. That's all I'm going on. I've never taken any course on photography. I just know from walking for years and years and years, looking at pictures for years and years and years, what works and what doesn't. That's why I don't use technical terms. You know, I could be telling you about breaking this up into a grid of 9. 3 by 3 of 12, and then placing the features on one of the crosses where one of the boxes where 4 of the boxes interact into check. Oh, I don't know what I'm looking. I don't know the words. I don't know the words. You know what I mean? Intersect is the word I'm looking for. But anyway, I hope that was helpful. I'll stick on this planet, I think. I've got some opportunities on here. I've been looking so hard for a planet that's got the variety I need. Because I want colour. as well as features, and this has got quite a lot of good colours. Like I said, it's a little bit disappointing that nighttime is now all blue, and that the fogging is no longer quite as accurate as it used to be, and the torch has also been broadened so I can't highlight the way I used to. But things like this are good for, I'll just point this out while I'm here. Things like this are good for depth of field. If you want that rock to be the highlight, just go crazy with it. Oh. Right, so you know, it's quite a nice effect, really. It's a little bit in your face for my liking, but it can work. It can work, especially with creatures. It gives it quite an interesting. It makes it quite interesting. I think it is interesting with certain subject matters. And it highlights creatures and anything you're close to. It makes them look like they're on. It makes it look more three-dimensional, funnily enough, as if they are standing there as models, which is quite a nice effect. But I'll be touching upon that a little bit more at some later point. Sorry this went on a little bit longer than I expected it to. I was trying to keep it short. But I hope that helps. Remember, you're looking for colour, just small details, but not distracting. A main feature, which in this case was that rock, and a decent backdrop. And you're also wanted to add depth so that it looks more three-dimensional. Because the further you get back, the flatter the image becomes. It's important to use at least a little bit of fogging. Not much, but it's important to use some. I don't think I've ever taken a picture without fogging at all. Unless the planet had fogging built in, if you know what I mean. You know, like that's got fogging built in the distance there. But that wouldn't necessarily make a good picture. Just put the defaults on a minute. But fogging works a treat in lots of situations. It can create a surreal effect. It is quite nice. It is quite nice. I quite like the lines it creates. But anyway, that's that. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll say, well, you might as well use my customary au revoir, spaceman. And have a good life. Have a good day. See you, everyone. Have a good one.